Hi, and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins. I am a modern mystic, and I am here to share with you the beautiful wisdom and stories from women that desire to lead their lives inspired by the divine within them. The divinely inspired woman is devoted to walking the path of her soul's calling, tuning into the divinity within to navigate life with ease and grace through all circumstances. She cultivates beauty in her daily life. She is here to share the most authentic self each day through thick and thin. So I hope you'll enjoy our show today and that you will leave with an infusion of inspiration for your soul and for your day and living your life. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. My name is Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I am your host today. And I have a lovely, beautiful guest, Care Roy, and she's going to be sharing with us from her heart today some poetry and her journey and what she is sharing with the world. And so let's just say hello first, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about her. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm really excited to talk about our book.
Yes, Poems from the Heart, and I'll just pop it up there. There you go. Yeah. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that journey, and also I want to just tell you a little bit about Carrie. Is it Care or Carrie? I don't know why I'm calling you Carrie now. It's Care, right? Care Roy. And she's a vibrant, multi-talented artist, a writer, a psychic medium, space holder, animal whisperer, and mentor. And she has been in the depths of her own personal darkness several times, and was surrounded by some toxic behaviors and habits and patterns for a part of her life. But she never let that take her away from the natural love of life or her bubbly, loving, and compassionate soul expression. So over the past decade, you became aware, right, of the importance of befriending and accepting your shadow, and now walk through life, the journey of life, feeling more aligned with the whole of who you are. And she's risen up like a phoenix. Ooh, I love that. The phoenix from the ashes. I have some similarities there. A stronger, more compassionate, empathic, and caring version of herself. And her journey has guided her back to her roots as an artist and to become the powerful energy healer, self-love witch, I love that, and creative consciousness mentor that she is today. So we'll be sharing a little bit more about the channels, and on social media you can find her a little bit later in the show, as well as what she is offering out in the world today. But let's just say hello and tell us what's on your heart in this moment.
Well, hello to everybody who is watching. And what is on my heart?
Or in
my duality of that feeling of when there's newness all around you and the excitement of the unknown of new possibilities and paths, while at the same time holding the release of whatever it is that no longer serves you as it exits through the rest of your system and your chakra system.
Mm. Mm. So I could almost tell me, like, do you feel like your heart is almost like letting go of old patterns and whatnot, that fits like with the lover archetype
Yeah.
that is part of this series that I'm doing for the Voices of Gaia. And it was all about opening the heart up and letting go of all the old ways of relating that were no longer serving. And what I heard from your bio, tell us a little bit about that shadow work that you do and how you've opened that up into, the creativity and how you share that with others and through this book, right? This book, how this came into to play with all of that journey in your life so far.
We'll start with Poems from the Heart and how that ended up coming through. I was actually gifted two poems from my friend Leah Sonaria, or Leah Emmett, who's also in the book. She has one.
Mhm.
And when I was originally gifted two poems, I kind of went, I'm a painter. I'm not a poet. And immediately I went, hold on, if you're being gifted this, there's a reason. And I had been doing a lot of writing already through, we'll say, social media and whatnot. But growing up, I actually struggled a lot with writing. I had a lot of writing tutors, and I worked a lot on language when I was a kid to make sure that I was able to pass every year. So the fact that all of a sudden I was gifted a poem or two poems that were going to go into a book, at first it was a very uncomfortable feeling, but also, like we just talked about, that feeling of the unknown. And I had no idea what was going to come through. And through the process, I ended up also connecting with Radha and doing an exchange for interviews for a few more poems in the book. And I ended up having six poems in it, which all reflect different parts of my heart, from several connecting deep in shadow to several connecting in the ecstasy of light. And how they all kind of came through was, I'm not ready to talk about yet what exactly happened, but last year I went through something that completely changed everything in my life.
Mhm.
And I was gifted these poems around that same time that that journey really started. And the
Ah.
first poem that came through is one about loving all of you. And
Mm.
it was one of those poems where, or one of those art pieces, being a painter, sometimes we create and we're aware of what we're creating, and other times we become that channel and something comes through us. And after we're like, that wasn't me, but it was me. Um, And so one of those style of poems came through, and it's called Loving All of You. And immediately after I went, okay, I'm a poet. And from there, I just embraced the newness of being a poet and the newness of owning my writing. And I'm still now connecting to the fact that we have a published book. Um,
Right.
the physical. It's still something that, like, little care within me is like, you did what?
I
Um,
love that.
so for me, shadow work I wanted to start with that to bring it into shadow work. And shadow work for myself has been something that I have done a lot of energy work and energy training. I'm a Reiki master. And so I work a lot with working through the chakras in the body, working through clearing out anything that feels heavy. And that was where my shadow work actually started. And then from there, it became more of a conscious awareness of the shadows around, the shadows within, and the shadows that are a part of us. And I realized that most of us spend a lot of our lives really owning and loving our light sides and the good sides, if you will. And then our shadows, or the bad sides, which nothing is good or bad in the end, it all is. Um,
Mhm.
but the shadow sides, there's parts of us where we won't even look at, or we don't even want to look at. And through energy work, through yoga, through being a yoga teacher and a Reiki master, it really helped me realize my own shadows through myself, and then the mirrors that happen with other people.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of Virgo in my chart. I'm a stellium Virgo, and pretty much any chart that you look at from whatever style of astrology, I'm always a stellium Virgo. And so that overanalyzing aspect, I've really learned to hone in on it. So when the overanalyzing starts, we'll say around my shadow, it becomes this conversation of love. And that's why I call myself the self-love witch, is it comes down to love. It comes down to reconnecting back to your heart, reconnecting your lower and your upper chakras because they all meet in the middle, and
Mhm.
coming back to that wholeness that we are. And by allowing myself to let go of the perfectionism, let go of whatever it is that I was holding against myself, it's really allowed such a level of self-love for me that you really feel it outwardly as well. Because in the end, we're all just beings of love. So
In the end, we're all just beings of love. Yes. I love that. That open-heartedness. I really resonate with that in my journey as well. And there's a part about that vulnerability. I'm just reading the field here about the vulnerability that it takes to live that way, right? To come back to the heart and stay out of the mind or down in, just the senses of the body. And I love that self-love witch. That's very unique. I don't think I've ever heard it like expressed in that way. So that's beautiful. I can feel that. And I wanted to, I guess, ask you how you talked a little bit about becoming a poet and accepting that. Um, and is there anything that you would share with others? I mean, Rada Publishing House, right? They're to have curated these beautiful books, right? And they have supported us as artists to share through poetry. Is there something that you feel would encourage others to open up their hearts to express in these ways of poetry or art, um, being willing to be vulnerable?
I would say that one of the big things that really helped me was realizing how much I was holding in. And
Mm,
I studied fine arts in post-secondary. I have 8 years of post-secondary in fine arts, and I have a degree in advertising and in graphic design. And what I realized was I've been doing a lot of reflecting around this coming into the end of Pluto in Capricorn. My ascending is in Capricorn, and I've realized that over the last 12 years, I've really limited myself and I let go of what I felt was an artist and allowed the world around me to curate what I should look like. And
mm,
going from being a fine, like it kind of felt like going from fine arts felt like being the wildfire. And then going into advertising and graphic design felt more like being a contained fire.
mm,
Because
mm,
there's structures in everything. There's always structures that we follow even as fine artists, but in advertising and graphic design, there's even more structures because a lot of the times it aligns with corporate. And so one of the big things that I would say to anybody who is curious about connecting with their art, whatever form that is one, just do it.
mm,
Don't judge yourself because time, that first time is like the first few times that you're asking somebody else out on a date. It's super awkward. It's usually just like vomit on a page. Like it's not usually your best piece. Um, and just allow yourself to start and let yourself play and notice as you're playing what comes up. And why I say that too is I was so confident that I was going to be a painter in my life. And up until 2 years, up until mm, 2 years ago, over the last 10 years, I hadn't touched a paintbrush.
wow.
Yeah. I
Wow.
once I went into advertising and graphic design, I let go of the paintbrush and I went on to the digital aspect of everything. And I realized, I went, wow, I really let go of the tactile aspect of things. And the first why I bring up, let it be word vomit or let it be whatever comes out, and then notice what's going to happen within you. Notice the judgments that might happen. Notice all the dialogues, but don't notice it and go into it. Notice it from an outside perspective and be like, oh, wow, that's really interesting that that's what's coming up. And that's not me. That's something learned externally. And by doing that, it really allowed me to notice my shadow in my artwork just by what I
Mhm.
was creating, and notice how critical I was being of my own work, let alone anybody else's work. But noticing, and this is the same reflection as I was talking about before in the work that I've done around shadow, is by noticing, hey, wow, this is how I'm feeling about my own work. And generally, I do have those internal, we'll say, criticisms towards other people's works, but I won't necessarily express it. So it's like, if that's how I'm feeling about my work, how is it that I'm going to feel about somebody else's work? That needs to shift. And a lot of the times, it's not going to shift through aggression, through pushing, through all of that, because in my experience, that's what the corporate world does. And
Mhm.
in the creative energy is connected to your sacral, and your sacral is your inner feminine. So it
Mhm.
is actually that being energy. So allowing yourself to just be in whatever it is that you want to create, notice what comes up, and then give yourself extra self-love. And noticing extra self-love can be by going on a walk and having a conversation with yourself and just noticing, like, okay, is that how I would talk to somebody else? Is that how I would express to somebody else? So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I resonate a lot with what you share, even though our walks may have been a little different, but that whole corporate, structuring, I wanted to be work with people and help, healing where it got into academia, biology, this the science and then the corporate world. And I wanted to be a healing artist, right? It was like, what the heck does that mean? And I have that Virgo ascending. Um, so it was like I had to find structures. I'm always looking for these structures and thinking I need certifications and I need all these things to be a healing artist when all it is about bringing through, right? These creativity, these love codes, right? To share. And it's not about what people think about my work. Like, like you said, it's like the joy of being in your sacral creativity, creating without agenda, right? It's just like, well, you might have a little bit of agenda. I always have a little bit of, something that I want to feel or capture or tuning in, to the moment. But I really resonate with what you said about the vomiting too on the page. Like, it's okay. It'll get better. And yeah, it's just such a fascinating journey how we lose that beautiful creative part of ourselves with all the red tape and all the structures. And you mentioned, and I'm aware of that, we're shifting from Pluto out of Capricorn into Aquarius. And so we're like on the verge of something completely different,
Mhm.
right? And the love, right? That love is going to come, I think, through that Aquarius portal. Do you have anything to say about that? I'm sure you do.
I do in many ways, in the light and in the shadow aspect, in that the last actually, we'll start with this. Aquarius rules technology. So one of the big things, and Capricorn is kind of the work first, play second. So over the last 16 years, a lot of us have been very me focused and very work first, play second. Whereas
Hmm.
Aquarius is actually the we, they're the humanitarians, they're the we, and they're also very connected to technology.
Interesting.
So with that, we're going to see a huge boom in technological advances in many beautiful ways. And they're also, we'll say, the most alien of all. They have this beautiful way of seeing things in a completely different light, and there's also a rebelliousness to them. Last
Mhm.
time we had Pluto in Aquarius, and this is more the shadow side in general, just where we'll see some really big shifts probably in society too, is last time it was during the period of revolution. It was during the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and the Haitian Revolution. And I feel that there might have been some other ones, but those are the three that I know about.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of history around the French Revolution. And during that time, there was a lot of shifts and changes. And it came down to the we wasn't happy with the me who was governing everything. So we're going to see a lot of shifts of taking what we learned from that Capricorn of me, and then how can I actually bring this out into the we, which actually aligns with how I work a lot with my clients too. And like I just said too, in the process is it's bringing it inwards and like, what is it that I have? What is it that I can bring forward to the collective? Because in the end, it's not just me. The we is what makes everything function. Um,
Mhm.
that forward. And with that technology connection, that's where it's really important, especially for us artists, to continue doing the tactile art, continue to do stuff with our hands, because there's going to be a huge boom, as I mentioned, in technology, which will probably affect many creative aspects. Um, but again, like we are very creative beings naturally, and we're biological beings, and connecting with our hands, which are the most energetic part of our body, is something
Mhm.
that us come back into who we are.
Mm. Thank you for that clarity around that. That's really helpful for me to hear as well. My North Node is in Aquarius, so I really feel like this. I can feel the shift, like in my body and where I'm being directed. And that what you said was like, oh, okay, I get it. In some level, I'm one of those people that just I know I just feel it in my body. Um, And some people feel it in their hearts, but I think I literally just feel it in my body. It's like a resonance. And for you, I'm going off on a tangent there with there's something about that though. When you talked about the tactile, I am going somewhere with this. Um, that tactile thing, right? It brings us back in to our bodies because the technology can really, at the shadow side, right, take us way out. And that's that conversation about AI, right? And all of the things and how we're going to work with it in the future. But that's probably for another episode. I'm that maybe you and I can talk a little bit more about that. But I would love for you, if you feel it, to read one of your poems from this book. Would you do that for us?
I would love to. And since I talked about it, I will read Loving All of You.
Mm, perfect. That is perfect.
Loving all of you. We desire to be our highest selves, yet fear embracing all of ourselves. We have this way of shunning our shadows by running. We make them feel rejected, when in reality, we're misdirected. We get taught to shame anything negative and praise vibes only when positive. We're meant to be friends and have this relationship last till the end. We need to reframe our views on darkness so that our biases don't lead us to be heartless.
Mm,
We can fully love all of who we are once we accept our shadow as a co-star.
mm, that's beautiful. Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And we're in the transit now of in the Gene Keys, we're the human design world of immortality and embracing your totality. So that is just we're all of it, right? Light and dark and everything in between. That's very magical. Mm. Hmm. I want to make sure that you have time to let people know how that they can connect with you, and tell us a little bit about what offers you have right now for the world.
Sounds good. So you can find me at Wildly Empathic at Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and I believe it's also Wildly Empathic on Insight Timer, which is a space that you can go to for free meditations. And if it's not, then it's under my name, Kara Roy. I have it set up as Wildly Empathic, but I have not figured out how it works when it comes to finding like handles on Insight Timer. It's a little bit odd.
Different. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. I'll make sure that I have those in the text for this show. But yeah, tell us a little bit about these offers that you have right now.
That's good. Thank you so much for the space.
Hmm.
One of the offers that I currently have is, as I mentioned, I am a painter, and these are also my paintings behind me. And one of well, not one, the offer that I'm offering with paintings is it's called the Transformation Series. And what I do is I connect with, in general, it's women, but I'm more than happy to also paint anybody else as well. But I've been focusing mainly on women. And what we've been doing is creating a series that reflects a transformation that she's gone through. So the painting that I have behind me is actually my coach, and I did 3 paintings of her, and she transitioned her business from being a fully human design coach to completely releasing human design for the moment and focusing on self-expression. And
Mm.
I would had her as my human design coach, and I watched the whole journey. And so the piece is in black, or the pieces are in black and white, and it shows the evolution of her almost releasing parts that were holding back her expression, if you
Wow.
will. Um,
Hmm.
Another series that I have been working on is one of my friends originally was trying to figure out if she wanted to live in London or in Spain, in Barcelona. And so she was going back and forth, and that's how the series started. And during the evolution of it, she traveled more, and it also turned out to be a timeline of her letting go of so much toxicity in her life. So together we actually conversed, and we realized this is actually the detoxification visual for her to also keep and to be able to have for whenever, if she is tempted or if she is not sure if she wants to go back into other energy, she has the visual to remind her that
Mm.
so far, and continue to strive forward for you.
How powerful. Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful. That's deep work.
It is. And that's where I've realized that for me, in some ways I had to let go of painting to come to this area of really owning my healer, because I've allowed the healer aspect in me to realize I just don't want to paint anything. I want there to be full meaning behind it for me.
Mm. Yeah. 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 Full meaning. I feel that. Mm. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
another offer that I have that has not been released yet, this is the first time that I'm actually talking about it, is it will be releasing in December and in January. I'm going to be offering a 3-month container that is a one-on-one container for artists. And we're going to be going through almost a similar energy to what this conversation has been. Is it's meant to help us in an overstimulated world release certain stimulations that are affecting us within our creativity. And that's completely different per being. But
Hmm.
essentially, my journey has really showed me I needed to slow down. I've had multiple burnouts in my life, and so the art of slowing down is what the one-on-one is called. And it's really allowing us to slow down, to release the noise around us and release all of the extra things that might be trying to grab our attention, especially if we have ADHD, that's taking away from our creations, to be able to bring our energy fully into our creation and allow it to become whatever it is that's meant to be birthed. And by doing that, it's also allowing artists to be able to come into what I talked about before. We can be the artist or we can be the channel. And by
Mm,
releasing things around us, it helps us become more and more that channel. So that's what
mm.
the one-on-one will be geared around, is focusing on helping create a container and foundation to allow an art piece to either be birthed through those 3 months or at least have the foundation to continue forward. And then there's the option of continuing to work together.
That's fantastic. That sounds really, really nourishing and magical and supportive for anybody, right, who wants to find their self-expression. So they can find more information about this through reaching out to you, or you're on your website or your social media handles, or
The best place for the moment is definitely on Instagram. I also
okay.
have my email, which is wildlyempathic@gmail.com. Um,
Okay.
so if I don't have a website at the moment, so if
Okay.
something that you are interested, please reach out, and I'm more than happy to offer more information about the one-on-one because I haven't shared it yet. So it's not actually available anywhere yet, but my painting offer is. So yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today. And your poem was beautiful and just so perfect, um, for, I think, for me today. And I'm sure anybody who's tuning in will really appreciate those words, um, that transmission that you shared with us. Thank you for joining us here in this community. And thank you for listening to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. Again, I'm your host, Patricia Wald Hopkins, and I am so glad that you joined us here today. I hope you left with some soul food to inspire your daily life. And if you would like to learn more about my work, please check out my website, patriciawaldhopkins.com. And you can find out more about my divinely inspired practice and tools. So, thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Hi. I'm dropping in here with an announcement about a program, a new mentorship that I am offering. It's called Voices of Gaia, and it's about bringing your voice, your leadership, your life in alignment with Gaia's guidance. So if you feel called to learn more about this program, it's a beautiful, rich program where we dive into your essence, and if you so desire, we develop your business around it, and really blossom into your whole lifestyle, this wisdom from Gaia that wants to be spoken through you. So if you feel called, reach out to me at patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. That's patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. There's no hyphen between Wald and Hopkins. And I would just love to hear from you and see if this is a good fit. So thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful day.